and we see return to the
Oh
Lucian.
my
Something to
gosh.
note is this is the same bans we've had a lot for LNG, except last game they banned Lucian and left Yuumi open. Now Yuumi is banned once again. EDG opts on the Lucian Nami. LNG go for the Zeri Lulu, but with Sejuani banned, they take Wukong.
I like this pickup for Tarzan. He has been so big on the Wukong, but there we go. And this is a scary pickup. The momentum that can be there from the Poppy pickup is actually gigantic. And LNG, they'll lock in the tried and true, the Lulu.
Now probably going to see like an Azir ban from LNG, such a standard in the second rotation. The main thing is now for EDG, Poppy is so fantastic at diving side lanes, because when you're hugging your tower because you're about to get dived, there's nothing really you can do against a Poppy who slams you into the wall. So the mid matchup is so vital here. Whoever gets a good mid matchup is going to be able to enable that. If EDG have something like Lissandra that can roam down and have priority and they can go for those dives, I could see them blowing this game open. So we'll have to see how this ends up panning out. Silas denied away from Doinb again.
Yeah.
We'd often see Kennen banned away by LNG. In the past 2 games, they banned Kennen here.
I am so interested in the fact that I know this is going back to some of the things that have already been talked about, but the confidence. I mean, how big of an ego check is this for Viper Meiko? They said game 2, we saw the windows. We saw the Lucian Nami in a way that it worked against the Zeri. Like, and they're like, no, we need it again. We got to get it run back.
Game 2 wasn't on us, dude. That was the rest of the team. We were doing fine. But yeah, Nara actually comes to as a ban. So Kennen left open here. Nara instead the priority. And EDG actually banned the Kennen away themselves. Renekton is still open and available. And could be flexed if LNG take it here. We know they like to put priority on that pick. We'll see if they opt towards that or go in a different direction. Having a flex here would be pretty potent, because obviously means that EDG kept guessing and you can essentially end up with 2 good lane matchups. And so it looks like they might go towards that Renekton once more. So EDG, you're kind of in a position where you don't want either lane to be really bad against Renekton, or you want to be willing to switch, right? If you have something that's good in the Renekton and you're able to flex it yourself, that's fine. But LNG kind of leveraging the Renekton here. And it looks like Flandre might go back to an old favorite with the Gragas.
Man, could you imagine the setup here? That would actually be crazy. And as well as this pick, right? The Taliyah, if it does come through, and it does for Scout, it's something that we haven't seen LNG put very much focus on in a lot of their series. I think we saw it a little bit more in their last series in terms of bans, things like that. But this is such a giant pick for LPL as a whole, but as well as for very strong mid laners, which Scout is.
Yeah, and I feel like here, how are you supposed to play things like Renekton Wukong into Poppy Taliyah? And also, okay, imagine you're a little old bot lane sitting by your tower, and suddenly this massive wall cuts you off. And then this little Yordle with a hammer slams you into the terrain. There's not much you can do. I'm not sure what LNG can do in this situation to try and mitigate the side lane pressure, but they desperately need answers. And it looks like they're not even opting into it. They're going for the Renekton mid for Doinb, I presume, and the Gwen top. So LNG definitely have a lot of scaling picks in their arsenal, right? They have the the Zeri Lulu bot lane, the Gwen top. If they can survive and get to the late stages, they're going to be problematic. But EDG have the pressure. If they can find favor in this mid jungle matchup, if they can lean bot, if they can get Viper fed, as we said at the start of the day, Mazel, fed Viper equals a one game.
Yeah, it definitely does. But I am putting faith in the talismans for LNG in the 5-game series that I predicted, as Ala with that little smirk gave me all the confidence I needed in his Gwen pick here as the final pickup for LNG. And so you said, getting the ball rolling for EDG is where they're looking for a redemption arc on the Lucian Nami. And for LNG, it's about that stability, it's about that strength, and especially the early machinations of Tarzan.
Yeah, and we saw probably the worst Renekton game I've seen in a while in game 1. Don't be confident to bring it out again. Not into the Silas this time. Going up against the Taliyah. And there are windows. There are definitely opportunities you can find to get on the Taliyah. But the Unraveled Earth can shut you down.
It can indeed. We are getting into game number 4. And if you don't remember, this is summer playoffs on the line. This is the lower bracket in the LPL summer playoffs. Loser from this one goes to the lower bracket of regional qualifiers, and they will not have a chance further on in the summer playoffs. Winner will go on to face the loser of Top Esports versus JDG. EDG on the brink of repeating history of summer 2021, taking a 3-1 victory over LNG, and LNG trying to rewrite the script, trying to rewrite this miracle run that they've been on.
Could all come down to this game. Scout even going for the exhaust in the mid lane, so massive emphasis on trying to secure that mid 2v2 advantage, the mid jungle 2v2. Does have the spell book, so can switch to things like the TP, but Doinb himself has gone for that teleport. And yeah, I feel like in this game, it's a simple game plan for EDG. You get pressure mid, you lean that pressure bot, slam that Zeri into the terrain and get some kills. You get the Lucian ahead, and we've seen in playoffs what Viper can do on a fed Lucian with the Nami backing him up. The LNG, you have early skirmishing power in your mid jungle. If you can survive, weather the storm, Gwen in the late game, monstrous. Zeri, Lulu in the late game, monstrous.
Yeah, and we saw it work out for them in game number 2 when they went to scaling, when EDG didn't necessarily have that same scaling. But it's all about execution here. Also, little side note, I want to call out Flandre, obviously with the first strike, opting into a little bit of that burst. You think he's just going to go straight for that damage profile to burst down at LNG?
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you go AP Gragas, having something like first strike just makes your combo so much more threatening. Plus, like into the Gwen, you don't really want to be in melee range of Gwen regardless. Like the whole way you play Gragas and why he's so good as a neutralizer is whenever any melee champion gets up close to you, you just slam them with your belly, hit them with the barrel, back away, and then that's the trade over. Short trades, quick trades, benefits you when you have something like first strike rather than, you know, having something like grasp where you have to stay around the melee range.
Something we gotta keep an eye out.
I just realized, just because I say melee so much, I rhymed belly with melee, and
did.
it sounded really weird.
It was a little bit weird. I'm here for it though. It's all good, man. We gotta work out the kinks a little bit, but in all actuality, right, it is that early game focus, where jiejie, where Tarzan are going to get going, where their first ganks are going to go off, and we already have jiejie in position to try to punish Light and LvMao. As Meiko looking for the angle here, might be able to find it. They actually find LvMao, get his flash early, so there you go. A response, or at least a first strike from EDG.
Yeah, and I love the early play from Poppy. You can burn flash like this because you have Hex Flash. Having that extra tool means you're not actually that big of a deal being down the summoner. But now, Viper and Meiko have confidence. They're up in sums. Like, this is our time to establish pressure on the lane. And Tarzan lies in wait. If Viper dashes forwards, that is the go signal for sure.
It absolutely is. LvMao's looking for the flank on the side. Tarzan just buying so much time. We have seen Tarzan in positions like this. He's willing to wait out and mind game the opponent.
And then no jiejie's not there.
Exactly. They have the information across the board, and Tarzan decides this is the moment that they want to go forward. Viper uses the dash, but it is just Tarzan making vision known. Won't get any summoner spells from the EDG bot lane.
And you know what signaled it was LvMao moving forwards. This is a flashless, healless Lulu who just walked up as soon as Viper hit level 3.
Yeah.
And the second Viper Maker saw that, they knew, nah. No way is LvMao just running it that hard. This has to be a gank. They back off, they survive. And I'm gonna be real, that could have been disastrous. That could have been like game losing if Viper had dashed in, gone for a trade, and they'd both died. So good play from EDG's bot lane to avoid that.
But also for LNG, they're moving the pieces around. They're using Doinb from this mid lane to try to support Tarzan. They'll get the double scuttle for Tarzan, so trying to keep up pace for themselves, and that's going to be so important. You saw it, right? Meiko was talking about LvMao's willingness to go help Doinb. We've seen that in every game to this point, and now I wonder how willing LNG are to put more focus into the bottom lane.
I feel like for LNG, they're going to at some point need to try and undo the issues with this bot lane, because now level 3 has been hit and they have an advantage. EDG can just keep applying pressure, and the more pressure mounts, it's like if LvMao roams, you'll just lose plates, maybe even die as well. Oh, jiejie just gets spotted out by Tarzan there, just walking around in the jungle and posing that threat. It's so dangerous whenever any wave is pushed in. They could probably just go for a dive here if they're feeling really confident.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, like, jiejie's just walking up to the ward here. Does have Tarzan respond him, but has a little bit more to say here as he just walks out gleefully.
And look, nearly a plate taken already in this situation. jiejie doesn't get the plate, doesn't matter. He forces Tarzan over. Vision is secured off the enemy jungler, so they know he's not doing anything on the top side. And it's like Tarzan is forced to respond to this Poppy, forced to answer every time. Now, in the solo lanes, Doinb and Ole has been having a fine time. You can see they've been able to push in this last wave, got a bit of a CS advantage. But yeah, plate down now, and EDG will just continue twisting the knife.
It is a stark difference, I feel like, in terms of the pace. We haven't seen as much of those summoner spells burned except for LvMao on the bottom lane. But in all actuality, right, it's jiejie moving forward here and constantly pressuring this bottom lane, which is where we want to see that focus for EDG. Because last time around, game 2, they didn't get the lead for Viper and Meiko as much as they would want to. And I think jiejie realized that and knows that, if they want to close out the series here in game 4, that's an absolute win condition. What did we say? Fed Viper equals 1 game.
Yep, is it? I find it so funny that jiejie is like, okay, I clear a camp, I go bot lane. Clear another camp, bot lane. Reset, clear camp, bot lane. Like every time on repeat, he's just over there. Tarzan does clear out some of the vision, but now Dirk picked up for Viper, and we've seen this a lot recently. Often the Dirk is picked up for that early pressure. You can build it into a collector later, but you just get that early spike. Like, bear in mind, Dirk plus pickaxe, that is a ton of AD already for this Lucian, just off those 2 components. With the lethality as well, things are going to be pretty scary. And now Scout has the Weaver's Wall. This is where, if Tarzan ever shows on the top side, or if they ever find a window, if a mistake happens for LNG, that wall will cut off escape, and EDG will fly in and start to apply some pressure.
I mean, Doinb's, I don't know if you get this reference, but, Doinb's going to have to play like a deep safety in American football, right? He's going to have to be able to work around Scout's Weaver's walls, and especially be in position to capitalize.
Yeah, Mazel, sometimes I speak about, like, my parents, about League of Legends, and they're like, that's a foreign language to me.
Yeah.
You bringing up American football references? I have
What do you
no
think
idea.
a deep safety is? What do you think a deep safety is off the top of your head, Aux?
Like someone who plays defense, right?
All right,
Who's
you're
like,
good. You're the right track.
At the back end of the field, so when they throw the ball, they're like...
Watching the long plays. Look at that, Aux. You know American football. Bada bing, bada boom.
I'm a genius.
Man. You're a genius. I mean, hey, I said your big brain was big for a reason. Apparently, you've got some football facts in there, too. But in all actuality, right, that is the breakdown of how Doinb is going to have to play around Scout, around this Taliyah that we're seeing for the first time in this series.
See, jiejie on theme, once again, bot lane. Level 6 achieved, though. Tarzan not quite got his, so I think he might hit it off the Gromp. And that'll obviously give him a lot of skirmishing power, much needed. But culling, importantly enough, picked up by Viper, just makes the trading so much more threatening. We already saw that previous trade when we were talking about American football, how much damage it did to the Zeri.
Yeah, I think, but you have to also keep an eye out for Viper's aggression and jiejie's constant focus in the bottom lane. Light and LvMao are right on the cusp of getting dove, but Tarzan himself making his way back to, I thought he was. He's actually pathing back up towards the top, and Scout is coming here. jiejie just finds out LvMao in that tri-bush here, and LvMao, they're running away from the tower. They're TPing LNG in for Doinb, but I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. It does pull EDG off of the tower dive, though, which is a good fact in its own right.
Yeah, so they mitigate the play, but I just love that EDG are so non-committal. Like, they look for the initial play, but no one takes aggro of the tower. They don't dive too far forwards. And as soon as the TP comes in, they just back off. Scout gets the push in mid. They still get plates. They still chunk out LvMao. They still even get the heal, but they don't lose anything. They don't risk anything. And now reset coming in for EDG's bot lane. And a play towards the Herald from jiejie. If you get this Herald and slam it down bot, there's a surefire way to get Viper ahead. It looks like, though, with... Yeah, Doinb and Tarzan get prio mid, so they won't commit further. And
I was wondering, the reset's coming out nicely timed from EDG. We're actually seeing Meiko on that roam up towards the top side of the map. We'll see if that does lean into EDG's at least Rift Herald take here, which would be something we've seen them put a lot of focus on in this series so far. And we got all the pings coming down here.
A lot of grouping, but something to note is that Light did start to move up towards the Herald, so they could move the Zeri over to commit to the Herald play, deny it from EDG, and it looks like that might be the plan, but Light is losing so much on the bot side, missing CS, and that tower's got 3 plates left. If you give Viper alone time with it, he's going to take it, but it looks like they're committing, and now they've seen Light in the mid lane.
They're committing.
They can just sacrifice the Herald.
They're covered. Oh no, the keeper's burning. Everybody dodge. Oh no, Tarzan, he's gone. And now you gotta be really careful. The Rift Herald, it's on the side of EDG. The script writes itself, and the first objective goes to Edward Gaming.
what a disaster. Ola got trapped by the wall, and now Light misses all this farm. It's going to lose more plates. Like, that play for LNG works if you get the Herald. The fact that EDG deny the Herald and they lose farm bot and they lose a plate bot. Oh, it's just a disaster.
Man, it was like a bowling alley, and the split was there, but jiejie just goes right down the middle, and Tarzan is like, oh no, I'm out of here. Incredible timing, incredible decision-making from EDG to turn a play that we thought was holistically in LNG's favor to an early objective, to an early snowball for Edward Gaming.
And this is the power of the Poppy. Like, you know, if anyone wondering why Poppy's seen such presence, the buffs, some of them that came in, there were a lot of buffs that she got pre-MSI that sort of signaled her introduction to the meta. Her ult missile speed and the knockback distance got buffed. It's so hard to dodge, and look what it does to Tarzan here. Knocks him away, and it just means that ultimately your smite is out the pit. Look how far he goes. He's not coming back in. And then Arle is trapped by the wall. Doinb, because of the Unraveled Earth, can't dash over. And then they end up taking the Herald, getting the eye, getting out. And that was 4v5. That was with Viper bot lane. It's just everything went right for EDG and everything went wrong for LNG there.
Man, just turn of the Rift Herald to open up the eye at the last second too. Scout just getting the auto attack in. It is all working out in EDG's favor, and history might be on their side at this point, and it's really looking at LNG's next steps, next movements. How do we see Tarzan specifically, the man that we need to be ahead for LNG to find any wins, get back into this game on the Wukong?
Well, I think the Herald's coming down mid, try and stop them getting as many plates as possible here.
Oh,
my
Doinb
gets
he took so much damage, and into the wall he goes. He has to flash out. The charge goes through. Doinb, you gotta be careful. The mistakes that I feel like we never see are coming to fruition, and not to the benefit of LNG. It's another charge and a turret, and it's 2 kills in the same place, making a bloody mid as EDG take a 2-0 lead in this game.
And game 1, we saw Tarzan and Doinb get gapped by jiejie and Scout. Game 4, once again, that was just them completely dismantling them. Doinb just didn't respect the Taliyah, gets locked up, ends up getting stunned out, burst out. But also jiejie, there isn't much wiggle room when it comes to the stuns from the Poppy. Like, it's not like you have a whole wall to work with. You have that one turret, really, and both times able to get the stun. Gets it here initially into the wall, and then we see Doinb just like, okay, they've used that combo, I'm fine. But Taliyah finishes him off, and then here again, Tarzan ends up trying to look for the turnaround play to save his mid, but his mid's already dead. But the fact that jiejie gets another stun into the wall, finds the window there, just on the edge of the wall with the flash. Beautiful play.
Oh my god, and jiejie has been so incredible with this flash gameplay across multiple different champions, right? It was the Wukong, the flashes within the clone, or right before, using the clone to get that extra distance, to get that, you know, strategic know-how to upend an enemy team. And now on the Poppy, he's doing the same thing, and it's so hard, right? Like, you both die in the mid lane, the same position, the same thing. jiejie's sitting there happy, but Tarzan and Doinb, you've got to come into question of how even this happens to these two, these legendary players.
They're just struggling, and it just feels like Scout and jiejie have had their number this series. We highlight the importance of the jungle matchup, the importance of the mid for setting that up, and they've just been outclassed so far. Tarzan actually runs past jiejie here, but look, the lean is coming in. jiejie's too tanky to punish.
Now is taking a ton of damage. We'll get out with the wild growth utilized, but Scout is putting in the work now. He has the crown. We have the Gale Force completed for Viper as well, and the Leandries for Flandre. It is starting to come up aces for EDG. They'll get the bottom tower as well for Viper, and that is just so much gold given to this world-class AD carry that will absolutely trash the team fights in terms of his positioning, his mechanics, and to be backed up by, you know, the other 4 stars on the team. It is very difficult for LNG to find confidence in this game.
And look, you're 6k gold ahead, right? You have Mandate on the Nami. Lucian has Gale Force plus a bunch of extra components. They are so strong right now. Poppy's got Chem Tank. She's going to feel really tanky, hard to take down. Crown as well for Scout means he's not an easy target. There doesn't look to be easy options for LNG. Like, you're at this much of a deficit already. and they are just going to keep pushing the pressure forwards. Herald is in 50 seconds, so they want to put on that. But remember, they heralded, they used the first one on mid.
Yeah.
So even though they took that bot lane tier 1, mid is not long for the will. Top is about to go down. Flandre in the 1v1 against Ola has been handling the matchup fine. He's up in CS, taking the tower. This is a disaster. I mean, Flandre has a gold bounty without any kills or assists.
It is very unfortunate to watch the dominoes falling, and now Tarzan will have to get away from Scout. Just have it, but I don't know if that mental damage might be enough to make the difference here from EDG. Is they are just positioning so well around these picks, around these transitional moments for LNG, and again, that's what we've highlighted for EDG. They have a lead. They will make you know that they have a lead. They will force plays. They will force your hand in so many different positions, and we're seeing it happen yet again. It's like clockwork.
And now pressure in the mid lane tier 1. Not much EDG can do, and every time jiejie charges up the ult, like it's a 15-second cooldown if you don't cast it. So it's already back up again in just a second. But the zoning pressure, if jiejie ever connects an ult on a Tarzan, Doinb, Ola, then I just feel like LNG, they lose the fight. I mean, honestly, if they hit it on anyone, if they knock someone out of the fight for that long, it just seems doomed. And now Tarzan, he's on a ward. Looks like he's going to try and steal this, but he will die for this, I'm certain.
Oh my gosh, they don't get it, and the steadfast presence hurts Tarzan's engage. There's the keeper's verdict to get Ola out of there. Now Tarzan is exhausted. Tarzan is just dead. The vines are falling out from his grasp, and the rest of the team are falling into the dirt under the canopy of EDG, and they are just winning in every way, shape, and form. The stars are representing for Edward Gaming, and Flandre wants to make his name known as well and put them up in the skybox because EDG are slamming home this Game 4 victory.
17 minutes and they're 8,500 gold ahead. EDG were done. Wait, around 9,000 gold now. They were done taking this slow. They were done giving respect to LNG. This game is an execution. It is clinical. And we watch the replay here. This is exactly what I'm hitting on, right? LNG want to opt into the fight. They don't manage to get the Herald, but Tarzan actually flashes away from the seismic shove. But now jiejie ults Ola away. Suddenly Gwen's out the fight. You were already struggling with 5 members, but 4v5 with this deficit, no chance.
It is very difficult, and also the tool from EDG. At an advantage, it gets so, like, right, Doinb gets caught because of a cask from Flandre, and especially in these kinds of moments, the movement and denial abilities of EDG are coming out so clutch.
Oh, for sure. I just feel like everyone is on the same page, and we've said it, Mazel. We've brought it up loads of times. We've brought it up countless moments where we've said EDG back in their world champion form. This is a scary looking team, and they're still not stopping. There's no waiting around for neutral objectives. Herald's coming in to take that bot lane tier 2. LvMao's dead. You know, it looks like there might be 2.
I thought it was dominoes. I don't know at this point. Is it just buildings that are falling on top of LNG? Every which way you look, it is catastrophe. It is desperation, and it is disaster for LNG.
Oh, we do see a pick, though.
Look at this.
Caught out.
There's that bounty. Oh my God, no. That is just, that's a absolute feels bad, man. I don't even know what to say to that. Light is dying under tower here. Inhib tower in the bottom lane falls as well.
It just doesn't even look close. It's 11k goal lead at 19 minutes. The fact they don't even get Flandre is so painful. And like, this is why we have a picture in the picture, by the way, because if we look away from what's happened in the game for a second, someone else is going to die. Light nearly goes down there, but LvMao just executed by the side of EDG. They do manage to get that top lane tower. It won't be a perfect game, fortunately for LNG, but it is very close to. It's a 10k gold lead, even with that objective bounty coming in. Hex Deck Dragon picked up, and it's a Mountain Soul as well. With that tanky Poppy, that extra shield, that extra armor, magic resist would be so big. But honestly, I don't know if this game goes under 10 minutes, Mazel.
Yeah, it is not looking good, and that 10,000 gold lead may be increasing by the minute. Baron is coming up just now for the first time in the game with an already gigantic lead for EDG. It is just up to their decision-making. They're pulling around the map. This 4-0 performance on the scout Taliyah coming in for the first time of the series. It is so huge and so important to say that this EDG roster is showing up. The destiny is being told in front of them. They're trying to make a repeat of that 2021 summer split.
And honestly, looking in form to potentially do so, Viper, that was just like E-double auto.
Yep.
And look how much health Light loses. And I love how they play this out. They push in mid deep. They have bot pushed in by Scout. Scout moves to mid. The rest of the team moves to top to apply that.
Oh! He has his bodyguards there, luckily, but that is all that he has. His health bar not there anymore.
He
and
had
EDG.
shield bow. He
Yeah.
had barrier. And he used them. This damage is insane.
It is insane, and Viper is commanding the damage here. It is another tower to fall in favor of EDG, and they're looking at yet another inhib tower to boot. Here comes the Weaver's Wall across to block off LNG's defense. LNG say, I'm too desperate. We need to do something. Ala TP in the back, see if we can find a flank, but the tower is already down. Tarzan just goes in. Lightning crash there. Doinb, Ala, they're a little bit hesitant to get into the fight, and now they go forward trying to get the needlework in on multiple members, but it's LNG who now are forced to back away from the fight. EDG are looking confident, they're looking clean, and they're looking hungry as Tarzan falls, and you gotta expect that EDG will bring us back to that 2021 summer feeling, and they are just steps away from bringing the nightmare to life for LNG.
And EDG just feel like they are one. As soon as they see the engage start to come in, they all kite backwards, disengaging. And Ala steps forward, he's down.
There are all 5 members still here for EDG. Ala, the flash from jiejie, just to put worse on worse. That is another failure for LNG in these moments. While Doinb is getting this side lane tower, it is a Baron on the table for EDG.
Yeah, I mean, take the tower. I don't think EDG really care. They're going towards the Baron. It's so hard to face check here because Viper could just one-shot anyone. LvMao's trying to move in with the vision. Tarzan's trying to get here, but no flash. And the amount of interrupt EDG have, I don't think he's getting over that wall.
There is no way Jose. Meiko able to have that bodyguard symbol over his chest, but it is the Baron secured for EDG. It is complete objective control for EDG. It is complete game control for EDG at 22.5 minutes in.
I mean, the item difference is disgusting. But look at this replay. This is what I want to hit on. As soon as they see the CP start to come in, they get the tower, and they start to back off together. Viper disengages here, and the call is back off, back off, back off. Make sure everyone is coming from the same direction. jiejie shuts down Ala, but they want to make sure there's no flanks coming through, and then as soon as everyone is in front of them, they start to push forwards. The mobility's been burned. Flandre looks for Tarzan. The follow-up is there, and there's no way LNG can fight from this position. EDG repositioned so well there, and now back in alive. Look at the items. Item lead in the AD carries, item lead top, item lead jungle, item lead mid. Across the board, everyone has like a whole item advantage over their counterpart.
All right, Tarzan's looking for the desperate flank here. We've seen them try to go for things like this before, but this lead is so gigantic, it's impossible to even see it at this point. And Tarzan not going to pull the trigger on the behind flank. He's still positioning here, but EDG look at the tower. They say it's juicy, and they want to go for it. It's the Weaver's Wall to try and separate some of LNG, but they're just barreling down on the tower. Flandre is keeping tabs on Tarzan. Is this just the end of the game here? Tarzan can't get back to the team. He is just walking through his jungle. And EDG, they're going to bring us back to the memory? Are they just going to finish off here? They can deny the rewriting of history for LNG. They will make it hurt even more that last year LNG failed in the same exact way, and Tarzan is just trying to find a way back into the fight. Doinb is desperate at this point, but EDG, the star on their jersey, a warning to competitors. The world champions can be back in form.
Looks like LNG are trying their best to clear the waves with the third inhib going down. Super minions pushing in. It's not enough.
There's not enough left in the tank for LNG. The Dream Miracle run being stopped in its tracks here. The final tower for LNG will go down, and all that's left to stand is the Nexus.
And EDG don't even push further. They know this game is in their hands, in their control. A 14,000 gold lead. Only the Nexus stands. And they back off. They'll pick up the Drake, they'll reset, they'll spend their gold, and they'll close this one out. They have crushed LNG here. And I feel like, you know, we can talk about last-ditch efforts, maybe the final engage, but I think LNG, you know, this game is done. It's already ready. Everything has been done. The boxes are ticked. Everything's checked. And EDG are just going to push in for that final play.
It's just a few moments away. It feels like EDG just trying to secure as much advantage as they possibly can. Make this one extra stinging to LNG, bringing back all those memories. The miracle run for LNG that was denied last year, going into the lower bracket, then losing to EDG, having to make the run through regional qualifiers while still on the table for LNG. To change history, to do that moment, to pick it up from that last summer would have been huge, but it just is not there. EDG, they want to make a date with destiny, and Allah will be the first nail in the coffin, and they will quickly nail in all 4 more as EDG, they will find a repeat of summer 2021, and they will make a date with destiny.
They crush LNG. Yes, there were 2 towers, but no kills. That was a decimation. Somewhat similar to JDG's final game against LNG, but EDG show their world champion form. They show what they can do with the lead, and they annihilate their opponent. Last year, summer 2021, they knocked LNG out of playoff contention in a 3-1 victory. They have done the same today and look to continue their trajectory towards challenging for that summer title.
And it was just the momentum, the moment for EDG. The fact that we saw it in so many different ways. Also, just a special shout out to Viper Meiko making good on the Lucian Nami from game number 2 in the final game of the series. But as a whole, as you said, Aux, so well in the game. They were one. Those stars on their chest, that star on their chest, that synergizes them, that brings them together. These are world champions for a reason, and when they all hone themselves into a finely tuned sword, it is scary, to say the least.
They just look so ridiculously good. I feel like when they have any advantage, they're so good at leveraging it. And this game, the win cons were so clear. The draft came in, I think, with an advantage, definitely. But the way they executed, the fact that jiejie knew exactly what he needed to do. I was joking about it, how he was permanently bought again and again and again, but they knew the win con. This is an AD carry meta, and Viper is on your team. This guy is just disgustingly good, but I feel like to say this team is just Viper is a complete discredit. Every player had fantastic moments in the series, and I feel like, you know, we've talked about it. We've said they're back in their world form. It really feels that way. And despite the fact they did lose top esports, I have a feeling they're coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, and they will go on to face the loser of top esports versus JDG. Obviously, both of those teams very difficult to handle in their own right, but you can take, again, momentum from this series, the strength that we saw from EDG, even in that game 2 that they lost, right? Like, it's still, you could see moments where with the difference in composition, they were still able to find things. And I think that gets so scary, and especially with the potential, you know, revenge arc in against them, I think it's so important to highlight the continuation of EDG.
I don't think there are easy games against EDG. Either EDG get an advantage and they smash you, or, you know, if EDG don't get an advantage, they may lose. We've seen that today. We saw that against top esports. They never make it easy, though. It feels like a battle for every single inch. And there's games like these. This is similar to game 1 against top esports. When EDG get what they want, when it hits right, they are just such a fantastic team at leveraging every single advantage. It is suffocating. It feels like you get no rep right. And, you know, we've talked, I've said so many times, it's like such a consistent goal graph. There's one little dip in that, I mean, maybe 2 at best, but it's so minor. It's like there's so little. And I think that's when they took the towers with the objective bounties. There was no comeback potential. There's no moment. Like, you can see the damage from LNG. No one was